Well, g'day guys, welcome back to Shirley. Today we're going to be checking out the new Financial Districts DLC. It's only just dropped and they're calling it a mini DLC, so I'm kind of keen to see what a mini DLC looks like. There's actually quite a lot of content that comes with this thing, so we'll dive in, check it out, see if it's any good. I know exactly the place where we're going to build it. And you know what, it's not just that, I'm also going to be redefining the skyline of Shirley, something that I've been meaning to do for ages, and with the creator content pack by Feinfold, the skyscrapers in that pack are going to be excellent for Shirley, so we're going to be doing that as well. So even before the Financial Districts DLC was announced, I had always imagined that this side of Shirley was going to be some kind of financial hub. And I was just going to place down a bunch of random unique buildings and offices and we'll just sort of use our imagination. But now we don't have to. Now we can actually make some sort of functional financial district, which is amazing because not only am I ready to redevelop up this area, because it is looking incredibly average. It's really not great down here. So I'm looking forward to redeveloping it, but also we really could use some money. So I'm actually hoping that we can do some investing because apparently you can make a good amount of money with the new DLC. So fingers crossed. So we do have a couple of buildings we can place down. We've got the stock exchange, which is the main building we'll be placing down. That's the building that will give us access to trading some of the stocks, which I'm hoping to give us a bit of money. So look, now we're up to 23 grand. I don't know what's going on. But we do need to improve our financial situation. And I also want to place down this international trade building. It's pretty nice and tall. I think it's going to look nice over there. The thing that I'm really excited for are these banks. These are pretty cool. You can place these around the city and then they send out an armored vehicle, which then goes to the commercial districts within the city and collects cash from those places, and then it improves the crime rate. In terms of what we've got going on down here, we've got Shirley University, we have the metro line, which actually goes through a couple of different sections. We've got the metro line over here, which is probably too far. I mean, most people are probably not going to, some people might walk from the financial district to that station, but I would, if I was them. I would take this underground station, which is a pretty nice little spot. Other forms of public transport, we've also got a ferry line, which has a tree growing at the top of it. But then in terms of everything else, it's pretty gross. It's not good down here. In fact, let's just dive in and delete a whole bunch of it. I'm gonna use move it and I'm just gonna, no I'm not, just in case. There, much better. I'm sure none of you guys are surprised to see a messy grid down here. Yeah, surprise, surprise. I'm gonna just clean it up a little bit, just because I think I wanna define where the financial district sits, you know, where the commercial and offices sit, and then where the residential zoning sits. So I'm gonna delete that guy, that guy, that guy, all of them. Jeez, that is just so randomly placed. Ugh, far out, this is an absolute mess. Oh, what's going on here? Oh boy. Just gonna convert all this to concrete. No trees, just for now. Just so it's a little bit cleaner. And I'm going to re-figure out how the roads are going to look. But that is kind of more of a mess, maybe. Why do I want to do that? I really just want to do that. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I don't know what it is, but I just want to make roads that are all over the place every time. Okay, hear me out with this road. I think it's a nice arching shape that kind of just hugs the quay right there, which I think we kind of needed. We'll put a little bit more work into this, but I think just the palm tree lined road is far better than just that big gap that I had before. That way people can actually walk around here. I know they could walk on the quay before, but I think it kind of just adds that nice continuity. Plus I wanted to shuffle around where that ferry stop sits. We're about to make a couple of other changes there as well. And then I also just connected it up right there. So I'm also using a couple of mods. I'm using Move It and Find It and stuff if you don't already know that. But what I will do is, this is going to be problematic, isn't it? It just is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that. The rest of it's probably alright, but I will change a couple of the directions to these roads. So rather than having just this, you know, bit of a absolute mess there, is we'll make that one way, but probably the other direction so that vehicles can just go directly like that. Other way. I plan to make all these houses here slightly higher density as well. So I think that one-way road is going to make a little bit more sense a little later on, but for now, that looks a little bit better. And then this high capacity high school, I'm going to place over here instead. I think it's probably going to be better suited, closer to some of the residential areas, like, you know, there for now. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good starting point. We've got a new road layout and I've pretty much deleted everything from this area, except for our train station, but that's fine. But the road layout is kind of all over the place, but I do like it. It makes for some interesting interactions with different areas, and we're only just getting warmed up. There's a couple of things I want to change, but what I do like about it is we've got this nice connection from our main road here, and we've got a road coming into this area, and then we've got a connection to what is this other spot, you know, whereas a road like this, not connected, and it's obviously not a main road. And then this one here, you know, I would say would be used a little less, or at least for different purposes. If you were getting to an area like that, you'd probably use this road. So in saying that, I know exactly where I'm going to be placing my stock exchange, by the way. And I'm going to move, actually first, let's get rid of this. There you go. Out of sight, out of mind. Remind me to come back to that because that's not a good spot for it. For the stock exchange, I think it would be really cool to have some sort of walkable plaza out the front. And as you can see, we don't have a huge amount of room within these blocks. They're fairly small. So I'm going to remove that road and we'll place it right there. Cool. And that's directly in front of this road, which I'm going to convert. We'll go pedestrian plaza just like that. Do I go as far as this road too? We'll think about it, but maybe. Not a huge fan of those trees, so let's replace them with something a little bit nicer. Maybe even, yeah, that's nice. And then even the ones on the side, you can't unfortunately remove them, but I can place some of these other ones over the top and you can kind of see them a little less. Now that this is a pedestrian district, I've got to give it a service point. These things are always tricky to find the best spot for them because they kind of clash with the rest of the other things that are around an area like this. You know, this is meant to be a financial district with nice big office blocks. I don't really want industry around here, but I think this might be the best spot because it's already a big block, and that way it kind of just fills a bit of space. We're going to be placing something else within those areas. And I might even just align it up like that. Oh, that's nice. Before I start seeing this district in action, I'm just having a look at some of my zones. So you can see that some of them just do not match up very well and some of them work well. So what I'm doing is I'm going through and just seeing the areas that would be better suited for plazas or better suited to place down buildings manually. You can kind of see the ones that I'm looking for. An area like this is like this perfect square. So I'm going to leave that one. That looks good. This one here, again, a nice square right there. So I'm going to leave that. This area here, that's zoning really nicely. This one, not so much. So maybe I might leave that one for something else. We'll get rid of that zoning. This one's going to be an absolute mess, so we'll probably rezone that. I'm going to get rid of that little guy. Areas like this in the grid that are really hard to zone, I'm going to save something like that for a park, which I think would be a good spot for a little park just to sit in. And back here, what do you guys reckon I should stick here? I feel like there needs to be something else. I probably might even extend out a bit more of the residential zoning, but for now, I don't really know what else to put there, but definitely need something. There we go. We'll reconnect up those lines in a second. And I might move that just a little bit more, giving us a bit of space. Wish it was on an angle, but that's fine. And now that way, that's all part of this whole area, which I think is going to work well. People can just connect straight up to that pedestrian pathway. There we go. Moving is so helpful when it comes to things like that. And cities will typically build one of these if there is high demand for it. A lot of people need to cross a road or whatever. And hopefully we'll see a need for that. I do plan with this road to upgrade it to a bus lane a bus dedicated lane somewhere. We might do that after this, because I think that a rapid transit would be good to connect up to our ferry terminal and then even connect up to our subway as well. But that, I think, is pretty good for our connections. So let's make sure all of our blocks are covered with the new district theme, office specialization, and we'll give it... There we go. So I've just let the simulation run for a while, and as you can see, things have developed quite nicely. We have a lot of buildings at level 3 already, and they're all just thriving. It's a good time down here. However, I don't think that this particularly looks that great. I mean, I think this is a good example of if you just zone and watch things develop and call it a day, you're not going to get a nice looking area, because I don't think this looks that great, even though a lot of them are at level 3. But the buildings themselves, I mean, these look super cool. So we've got, I mean, one thing that I think is really interesting about this DLC is that you have so this is a level 2, and a level 1 version is the smaller version of that, so just that brick building. And then as it develops, that glass building just gets taller and taller, which is a really interesting idea. It's something that they haven't done before, and I really like it. But all these buildings just look super interesting. We don't really have any buildings like this, so it's kind of nice to see a real variety being added into the game. However, it's just it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? It's just a mess. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to demolish most of it. All of this. This. And I feel like that one's not so bad, but that one can go, all of these. So I'm kind of just picking and choosing the ones that I'd like to see still around. Which one? This one or this one? I actually can't figure out which one I like. It's probably going to be this one I'm going to delete, but I'm not going to do it just yet because I wanted to show you what I am doing. I am going through and just choosing the buildings that I think are going to fit the best within which area. And this area down here, like this block, is perfect because you've actually got, it's like the perfect grid, something I never do. So I want to choose the buildings that fit the best within that one. Oh, look at that one. That one's perfect as well. 2 perfect blocks. $2, look at you go. So I kind of want some smaller ones, and I think that I want to go for a style kind of like that version, you know, the white brick. So I'm going to get rid of that, and then this guy I'm going to make historical. Ooh, super close. And this one's going to be historical, but I feel like that one's on the chopping block as well. This one, historical, even though it's at the very top, and this one can go historical, and I don't know about this one. I'll think about that guy. See how much better that looks when you just spend a bit of time making sure that the buildings are a little bit more matching the sort of themes within the same area. You know, these 2 buildings are perfect. This is like the corner variation of this one, so that works really well. We've got this guy and this guy pairing nicely. It's almost like the same building, I imagine. And my favorite pair are these 2, which is, I mean, this is a level 3 version of this one, and that works really well. I feel like they just look like the same building combined, you know, that works well. Then the rest of these guys are gonna, I'm gonna get rid of those guys because they don't really work. And over here's okay. I think this building's pretty perfect, but I'm not really sure about the rest of them. I might just need to tone down a few of them. And I have just placed down one of these banks. This is the mid-tier bank, and we can see, put it on pause. There we go, speeding on 2 wheels. Check out that suspension. But off he goes to collect some cash. And I suppose he's got a, yeah, okay. So it works pretty similar to a lot of the other vehicles. But that looks cool. A couple of vehicles driving around. Now, I am about to do an absolute overhaul in terms of detail. But before I do, I want to place down some bigger buildings within this area. I would like to go into our content pack and scroll. Far out, there's a lot. And have a look at some of these ones that we're going to place down in this area that should be best suited. Now you can see I've already placed down a few of them. They're actually sitting over here on the skyline of Shirley because I've already recorded all of that, which is the reason why we're kind of losing a lot of money, because we're probably paying for a lot of buildings over that side. So I'm going to place down a couple of these, and it's all about choosing the ones that fits the best within this area, that kind of match the same sort of architecture. And I already kind of like this one. So basically this this big building is spliced in with some of these financial buildings, and I kind of like it because they sort of act as a facade for the bottom part of this. Do need to fix up a couple of other sections, so I don't think that guy really works anymore. Maybe that one. Yeah, that works. And then we've got like the entrance to the actual building there, and I might get rid of that guy. And that works. They're not leaving, they're still around, so that's good. They all still function. So that works. That's wonderful. So I've also placed down that guy, the International Trade Building, and yeah, I mean, it's nice and big now. We are plummeting financially, and I'm about to detail this up because it's under detailed. We've got a lot of green space, which I like. I mean, I don't. I like green space, but that looks pretty ugly. But before I do, let's see if we can make a little bit of money by investing. As someone who doesn't invest in real life, I don't really have a great grasp on this. I guess the idea is that you buy now when it's low and then it increases over time. So what I'm going to do is, death care is pretty bad at the moment, so I'm going to buy a bit of death care. There we go. And something that's a little bit more reliable. Good old oil. Let's buy a little bit of oil, and we'll buy some more. Oh, I can't afford it. Oh man. Oh no. Oh, okay. So all of my money is now invested. Oh man. Okay. Well, I'm glad I don't do this in real life. Let's just see what happens if I fast forward it. Actually, you know what? Put it on pause. Save the game, $2. Okay. Let's just get back to that. Let's see if we can actually make some money through our investments. So I'll accept it. Jeez. Wow, this is so interesting. This just adds a whole new layer to this game. Traffic Jelly Logistics. That's excellent. I love that. What else we got? Chirper Crypto, Chirp Air, Chirpy Cruises. This is so fun. Alright, we're so gonna dive into this a little later on. It's a very legit company. You know what? You got me. I'll take some. So I've just spent a bit of time messing around with some of my investments. This is super fun. I mean, this is an element of the game that I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy, just because all this plays a part, your whole city plays a part in your investments. You know, my farming industry reflects my farming industry. My generic industry is also reflects what's going on in the city. And, you know, I've obviously put money into this. I've invested into these companies or into the logistics of the city, and depending on how well they're doing depends on how much money I'm going to be making. And it's just a really interesting way of adding just a whole new layer of gameplay into the game, and I think this is going to be a great way to make a little bit of money on the side. I don't think you can solely rely on this, just because I had to invest almost $500,000 into the industry, and you know, if I sell now, I'll lose money, but I will also, you know, get a little bit of my money back. But then it's interesting to see the gains. And if I was to work on my industry, then I would see an increase in that. So that's kind of cool. It's just a very interesting element to the game. And I'm obviously not going to sell right now. And if I was to kind of go a little bit deeper into this, now would be a great time to start upgrading my farming industry, which I'm not going to do. I'm just going to leave it because I am making a little bit of money, and I'm going to sell my shares as soon as we have a bit more money in the bank. Is that how you do shares? Probably not, but whatever. Let's get back to this because things are looking pretty nice, but we've still got a lot of space down below, which we absolutely need to fill. So let's fill it. feel like a little bit of detail work really just adds so much. And when I say a little bit, man, it's a little bit. It's really just a bunch of trees and just putting in a little bit of pavement in some areas. The trick of just copying and pasting just segments of pavement, just a little bit of pathway is so easy, especially in vanilla. You just copy and paste it. Well, vanilla. I'm using Move It, so it's not particularly that vanilla. But the skyline over here is looking really nice. I really love it. I love that it kind of slowly increases to this height, you know? I love it when it kind of peaks at a particular spot, and that kind of works really nicely. Looking at it from a couple of different angles, it looks, oh my god, far out. Shirley, get your act together. But I do love that we have this center that is like all buildings, you know, it's pretty dense in the middle, but then all around is kind of these little pockets of green area, which I still wanted to keep because it kind of keeps with the theme of the university, which is a pretty nice green space. Then we've got green space between it, but the surroundings of this area need to work on a bit more. So for instance, I really just filled that gap in just there, but I feel like we need to extend out a bit more of the downtown, or just this part at least, to kind of match what's going on there. But for now, I think it's all right. But like I mentioned before, I do want to add some sort of bus network because I think going from our stadium all the way through here is a pretty good way of getting people around. I think it's a good connection to our ferry stop too, which of course, as per usual, only has about one person using it at all times. Because nobody likes taking ferries in this game, which is a real shame. 0 people on that ferry. Come on, guys. But the work around here is super light. I mean, going through and just adding in bits of commercial in areas, placing it down with, I'm using Find It, so I can just place down those buildings without them disappearing. It just makes it super easy. And then going in here, this is where our, where the magic happens. And I mean, it's pretty all standard stuff. In terms of our stock, let's have a little look. So I'm able to upgrade. I don't know if I want to. Let's upgrade. Yeah, increases. I think I kind of liked it before. Oh well, that's fine. And yeah, I'm not going to sell. I mean, this is me basically not doing anything to it. You know, I could have absolutely helped out my farming industry, but it's flatlined. Look at that, it's flatlined. And my generic industry is kind of just doing whatever. So you can really work on these by, well, really improve these by working on, you know, maybe helping out some of the traffic or adding in some more industry or you know, just making it more connected to outside connections. You know, it's just ways of improving, and you can see how temperamental industry is, rising and falling like nothing else. So yeah, that's something that I need to keep an eye on. But I think it's pretty fun to just invest in, you know, things around your city. That alone, I feel like, is worth just getting the DLC, because that is like a whole new layer that I think is just kind of interesting. But anyway, that's the financial district. But what about Shirley? And there she is in all her glory, all her fiery glory, Shirley's new skyline. So this is how it looks. What I was going for is I had to choose buildings that obviously weren't too tall. There's some really tall ones that I would have really liked to use, but as you can see, like, Shirley is not a big place. This is a small island, so you have to kind of choose the right buildings for the right context. But luckily that pack has got quite a lot of buildings, so I was able to choose from quite a lot. And I can't help it, but I always love to have some sort of iconic tower within my city. So I've chosen this one up here. This is a pretty nice pointy building, and it works well. I mean, it looks nice. So that's our tallest one. But then our financial district is really, really representing over there. There's quite a lot. It's pretty dense. So that's it from afar. I've got a couple of bigger buildings, like, you know, this guy down here that is more heart and center because I wanted it to be a bit of a feature. I really love that our stock exchange is now a pretty big feature of the city. You know, it's pretty heart and center as well. So we've got a couple of buildings that really, really stand out from the rest of them. And as you can see, things are looking pretty nice. You know, it's all about getting nice views from lots of different angles. And I feel like Shirley is really, it's probably like the good size, you know? That's probably about as good as you can get. Up close, we haven't done a huge amount of detail. I don't usually like to detail my downtowns too much, just because you usually look at your downtown from a distance rather than going up super close. But the downtown, I mean, there's a couple of great buildings that fit in really nice and snug. So that content pack's excellent because you do get some buildings of all sorts of different sizes. So I could fit one between there. And we've got another one that, I mean, that guy fits in beautifully around that station, around that train line, I should say. But anyway, guys, that is it for this episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in. But let me know if you're going to get this DLC. Is it something that you're interested in? I don't know if anybody was screaming out for a Financial Districts DLC, but I'm going to be honest, it's pretty fun. I recommend it. I think it's got some really interesting and fun mechanics that I think a lot of people would enjoy playing with. But anyway, that's it. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. A big shout out to some of my longest supporters over on Patreon. Robin Regals, Vivid Swing, Pablo Hernandez, Ronan Kelly, Bobby LA, Stephen Badassa, Leo Horton, Cheffaflex, Yuzin Wang, and Dan Foster. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!